the crew the rhythm that they need. Hold on, boys! The Italians are coming strong! We're up to the line, it's 50 metres! Can we hold it? Watch out for Italy! Great Britain on the line! Here we go! Just! Great Britain get the gold medal! And relief all round!
It's something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life. It's something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life.
When I'm standing up there at the top of the rostrum, I'll know what I'll have to go through to do it. It'll make it worthwhile.
Ladies and gentlemen, to talk to us about what business can learn from sport, will you please welcome Tim Foster.
Thank you very much. I mean, I don't know how many times I've seen that video, but it's actually very nice to see that we still win. And yeah, thank you, Jeff, for the introduction. I'm going to spend about 15 minutes relating sports to business. I'm going to tell you a story sort of primarily based upon that team that you saw there. And to give you a bit of history, that was the Sydney Olympics, the year 2000. Okay, going back 18 years now. But that was something that we built up over 4 years together to actually produce that performance. What I'll sort of describe and hopefully sort of put it into sort of understandable sections. I'm going to talk about what we aimed to do, how we aimed to do it. I'm going to talk about who we were and the team that we had together, because personally I think the teamwork is very important. And lastly, I'm going to kind of touch upon why we did it and the kind of motivations that we had to kind of do what we did. The what for us was very important, but it was also very simple. We had a guy on that boat, Steve Redgrave, had already won 4 Olympic gold medals. We weren't going to be the team that helped him win his first silver. That wasn't really our motivation. For us, I think as one of the teams tonight talked about, it's about the money. For us, it was about winning an Olympic gold medal. It was a very clear motivation. Like when we put the team together 4 years in advance, yeah, what we talked about as well, yeah, what do we have to do to win? Okay, every other country in the world set their target at the existing world record. We actually had this idea that, well, okay, by definition, a world record has already been achieved by someone else. So actually, we need to set our bar that little bit higher. So when we put our targets down, we actually set our bar 2 seconds faster than the existing world record, a speed that no one had ever achieved or no one had got close to achieving at that time. But our knowledge, I guess history also helped us determine where to put that bar. It wasn't a completely unreasonable figure, but actually by putting the bar 2 seconds faster than the existing world record, it gave us the margin to say, well, okay, if we can achieve that time, and all of our training was geared towards doing that, then that would be the time that would guarantee that we could win. My history had been, already I've been to 3 Olympics, that was my 3rd Olympics. Fast forwarding to today, I've been lucky enough to be involved in the last 7 Summer Olympics, so it's been a sort of a wonderful career in that respect. But that was my 3rd Olympics as an athlete. And actually, the Olympics before, I just missed out on the gold medal. But actually, okay, you see me win there, we win by 0.4 of a second, so that was us. Here, the Italians were 0.4 of a second behind, which is about that distance, like just less than a metre behind us. But actually in Atlanta, I'd lost by 0.4 of a second. So I was the one that was effectively here when, okay, the French were 0.1 of a second ahead of us, which is rather than here, they were here. And okay, the Australians were out here. And probably the mistake I'd made in Atlanta was putting myself in a position where I could win, or maybe even should win. Because yeah, you race that race in Atlanta 10 times and we probably would have won it 6, maybe 7 times out of 10. But realistically, that race was only raced once and we didn't win it. The Australians weren't too keen on a best of 3 kind of compromise. So, okay, what do we want to change? Why did we set the bar so high? It was to not be in that kind of could or should area. We were in a position where we would win. And actually, yeah, going on to that, kind of how were we going to achieve this time, 2 seconds faster than the world record? It meant that, yeah, we had to put a lot of ourselves and a lot of dedication into doing it. We had very particular plans, whether they were personal plans, whether they were team plans, whether it was technical, physical, mental preparation. Yeah, we spent those 4 years building ourselves up to that particular event that was going to happen in 2000. And to kind of, yeah, put into perspective, some of you are still young enough that if you want to go to the Olympics, definitely recommend it. It's very nice. But okay, in terms of rowing, which is a very popular sport in and around this part, the requirement that you have is 7 days a week. Our coach used to tell us we'd get 1 day off every fortnight, but he was actually German, and I think fortnight translated into something different from German into English. So we never actually saw that day off. We have a 7 day a week commitment. We used to have 2 types of training days. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. We would train 3 times a day, twice in the morning, 1 time in the afternoon, each training session about an hour and a half. Okay, Wednesdays, Saturdays, Sundays are what the coach would call us a half day, and his maths was about as good as English because half of 3 is not 2. But yeah, on those half days we would train twice, so we'd actually get the afternoon off. We would train twice by lunchtime. So yeah, we've got that weekly schedule. We used to get 3 weeks off a year, a little bit of time off over Christmas, a couple of weeks off after the end of the racing season in 1 year or before the training started for the next year. So that's hopefully sort of paints a picture of kind of how we were going to achieve this previously never achieved kind of speed that was going to allow us to win. And I did do the maths once in terms of what you just saw, the final race that we raced in Sydney, and actually compared it to the amount of training and preparation that we did in order to get Sydney right. International racing is over 2,000 metres. It was 235 strokes from start to finish. And for every single stroke that we did in that race in the Olympics, in training we practiced it 18,000 times. Part of that, yeah, was to get physically fit. Part of it, as a sport, is how you combine together. There's no point in having the 4 best individuals if they all go off in different directions. A rowing boat is very difficult to steer in a perfect straight line because, yeah, you've got 4 big, strong individuals who are sort of, yeah, connected to this long lever that's an oar, and actually the boat is steered by something that's about half the size of a credit card and moves about 10 degrees in one direction and 10 degrees in the other. So there's no chance to kind of keep you straight if you're not rowing together. So technically there's a real emphasis in what you have to do in terms of preparing for an event like that. Also psychologically, okay, race tactics, it's not a sport where you can decide things as you go. You have to have a preset plan with the adaptability to react if the opposition come towards you. Okay, when the Italians started pushing back at us in that final in the Olympics, you can't have a chat and Steve, who was the one who was giving the calls, can't say, hey, does anyone fancy putting on a bit of a sprint? Because I think the Italians are coming back at us. You don't have the breath for that yet. You're physically flat out already. So basically, Steve has a 1-word call. It would be legs or go or push. And actually, because we've practiced it so many times, that 1 word puts into motion a whole series of reactions that we know how it's going to go. And yeah, the stroke rate might come up, so we do more strokes per minute, or we might row a little bit longer. And yeah, you have to have practiced that so many times, because if you get it wrong and one of you reacts in the wrong way, the boat goes slow. And that's one of the reasons why we did that 18,000 times. In terms of the who, it's very, very important for us to work as a team. And again, I think teamwork was one of the features that I sort of picked up from the presentations that I witnessed earlier. And yeah, you can have the 4 best individuals who are best at what they do, and you wouldn't have the best team. And yeah, for us in that team that you saw, yeah, we were 4 very talented individuals that all had success either before or after that in the sport of rowing. But yeah, it was the fact that actually we trusted each other, the fact that we believed in each other, and actually we'd gone through the whole journey together, and we'd equally invested into it, and actually, we all wanted it, we'd all committed to it. We also were very, I call it kind of positively critical of each other. At one point, part of our tactic was to win every single race that we possibly could. And actually we were together for 45 races over 3.5 years in the build-up to the Olympics. And of those 45 races we did before the Olympics, the first 44 we win. We beat everyone in the world, we're #1 ranked, we actually didn't only win, we were never led at any point. It was working perfectly. And we thought that was the perfect preparation for us to then be successful at the Olympics. But the very last race we did pre-Olympics, which was the World Cup final in that year, we didn't just get beaten, we got absolutely thrashed. And funnily enough, it was the best thing that could have happened to us, because it made us look internally and criticise ourselves. And one of the things that I described that made us such a good team was the fact that originally we all tried to take responsibility for it ourselves. Our coach, Jürgen, who's the kind of 5th member of the team, he tried to take responsibility to say, hey, the programme was wrong, the advice I gave you was wrong, I'll make sure in the next 6-7 weeks we'll get it right for when it really counts at the Olympics. And what he said wasn't wrong to say, it definitely was part of the reason, but it wasn't the whole reason why we hadn't won that particular race. And the Italians, the Australians and New Zealand at that point were well ahead of us in the game. I tried to take responsibility. One of my jobs was the kind of quality control, the efficiency of the movements of the team. And when I'd seen this race that we'd just lost on video, it didn't look like it had felt. And I realised, hey, I wasn't doing my job very well, because actually there are some pretty clear errors that we're making that I should be correcting. So I stood up in this one particular meeting and tried to take responsibility for why we'd lost. And again, probably part of it, but it wasn't the whole reason. You're in a situation at this point where it's very intense. Yep. You've got the build-up to the Olympics, your whole dream, your whole life's been building up to this point. And you could get real extreme reactions. You could get, let's change everything, because we've just been thrashed. You could get, well, hang on, 44 wins out of 45 isn't bad, and actually maybe we're just unlucky that one time. Let's just ignore it, let's carry on. The reality was, we sat in the middle and, we're critical of ourselves. We also had to be critical of each other. I had to tell 2 of my teammates that they were overweight, which was a lot easier when we wore lycra suits to work than wearing a jacket. But it was true that in the end, we all had to carry the weight that was our boat. And if, as a team, we were that little bit lighter, there'd be slightly less resistance, both the same effort and energy would go that little bit quicker. So actually, losing a little bit of weight helped us go a bit faster. And the way it was intended was the way it was received by the people who in the end did have to lose the weight, because it wasn't that I didn't like them, or it wasn't that it was a personal comment. It was like, well, will it make our boat go faster? Because that's actually why we're here. And the environment that we created as a team was very much, well, okay, this is about winning an Olympic gold medal. This is about what we have to do to achieve that. That again, going back to that 2 seconds faster than the world record. How do we get there? And sometimes it was the harsh realities of, okay, what can I do better? What can we do better? What can you do better? And having that environment, as I say, of trust, of real dedication to what we were doing, really helped to have those conversations. Because they were very difficult conversations to have, but they were never taken in the wrong way. The last point I'd sort of mention is the why. Like, why did we do it? I mean, for me, it had always been a dream. It's probably something that we have more easily definable in sport than in business. Okay, not just because we have a goal, but we also have a time limit set to that goal. And okay, for us, winning a gold medal in Sydney was defined by someone else in terms of the timing of, and actually we determined what the performance needed to be to get there. But actually, we dedicated to do that. And it had always been my dream from being early teens till the time I was 30 when I won that gold medal. To win an Olympic gold medal had always been something I'd built up to be something pretty special. And okay, I dreamt of waiting for the rest of the world to catch up. I crossed the finish line and I'm I'm going to wait for the rest of the world. I didn't have to wait long, it was only 0.4 of a second, but that 0.4 of a second was a magic moment. Like, I can stop, they carry on. Actually, the feeling of being best in the world was, was everything I'd ever dreamt it could be. I dreamt of the national anthem being played, or the flag being raised, and having that moment where you stand on the medal rostrum, and I built it up to be very special. It sort of pushed me through a lot of the hard times that come with the training and all of the highs and lows that you get in any journey towards achieving something. And for me, that was all part of my why was I doing it. For me, I was trying to right the wrongs of, to me, what had been an unsuccessful Olympics in Atlanta. I've got a bronze medal, actually, from Atlanta. It's an Olympic bronze medal, I don't talk about that one very much. Because unfortunately, it reminds me of what if, or if only. Because actually, there were things that we could have done better in preparation or on race day that actually could have meant we could, maybe should have won, but we didn't do them. So I had to wait 4 years to kind of right that wrong. It was interesting because a lot of people in business will talk about the why has to be the same, and everyone involved has to have the same why. I actually slightly disagree. I think as long as you kind of meet in the middle in the common sort of what and how you're going to do it, the whys can be different. Because actually, as a team, we had very different whys of why we were doing it. For Steve to win a 5th Olympic gold medal was going to put him in a unique position as Britain's greatest Olympian ever. I was fairly recently actually in a conversation, a 3-way conversation with Chris Hoy, Steve Redgrave and me, and Chris and Steve were both saying that the other one was Britain's greatest Olympian. It was slightly belittling to be the one standing to one side, but actually it's very humbling because, the humility of both of them to try and deflect it onto the other was great to see. But for Steve to win 5 Olympic gold medals over 5 consecutive Olympics, to stay at the top for the best part of 20 years, and to always get yourself in front was amazing. And you think, well, I can have that resilience and dedication to keep coming back and to go faster and faster. It wasn't that you had to get to the top and stay there. Times were getting faster, people were getting fitter and stronger, and he had to do that as his body probably was telling him enough. It was enough. Matthew, one of my teammates, talked about being a legend, and he wanted to be not just a gold medal, but he wanted to be recognised as the best in the world. And it was interesting to see how he dedicated himself to that. For me, I had built it up into being a huge thing. And okay, in the end, what advice can I give? At this moment, I could probably bring an Olympic gold medal out of my pocket. Actually, I have the button. I suppose at the moment, I'm very happy. I noticed some people are wearing their medals around their neck already, but I'm very happy for this to be passed around if people want to have a look. And at this point, I say I'm quite a quick runner, if anyone. But that was a little bit the reason why. That gold medal had been built up to being a big thing in terms of my motivation, my reason why. And I suppose now the advice I'll give is involved, it took an awful lot of effort, 18,000 repetitions. For me, more than 12 years of my life dedicated to what I thought was going to be a fantastic moment. And people often ask me, well, was it worth it? All that hard work, the injuries, the highs, the lows, the moments where you thought it would never happen and you had to really push through. The advice I'd give is it was worth it 100 times over. Like when you achieve something that you've really set your heart upon, like when you've actually dedicated yourself to achieving something, whether it's in sport or whether it's in business, whether it's in your personal life or whatever it is, that actually if you dedicate yourself to that and actually, then it comes true through giving yourself completely to it, it's worth it 100 times over that. I can't believe how much it meant to me. And I say, I also had the feeling that in the end it wasn't just about winning. I'd set this target of what was winning, but I had a conversation with Steve Redgrave after the race and said, actually, okay Steve, if we hadn't won, would you go through the whole journey again knowing that in the end the result wasn't going to be as good as we hoped it was going to be? And both of us agreed that it had been about the journey and it had been about the motivation, the dedication, because I sat on that start line for that race at what probably should have been the most nervous point of my life. Because as Jeff said, there were about 8 million people in this country watching live on television. I think over 200 million people worldwide were watching. There were 35,000 people on the day in the arena waiting silently for us to get started. So yeah, you should feel like the nerves of it. It's 12 years of your life. You're about to have a 6-minute exam as to whether you're a success or a failure. 5 minutes 56.24 exam. If you did 6 minutes, you wouldn't have got a medal. But yeah, all of that. But yet, I wasn't as nervous as I thought I was going to be, because in the end, I sat there thinking, I've given 100% of me to get here, and actually, I can't do anymore. I couldn't look back with a what if or an if only and think, oh well, I wish I'd done something different. I was actually sitting on the start line thinking, right, well, I'm as ready as I'm ever going to be. And okay, this next 6 minutes is going to be the test as to whether I am ever going to do this. I knew at that point I wasn't going to be able to come back 4 years later. My body wasn't going to allow me to do that. But given all that, and given the moment that then was crossing the line, was having the national anthem, the fact that I can still stand here 18 years later and talk about it and people listen very nicely, it still sort of really gets my heart going. So please do believe that in the end, that dedication and motivation, whether it's sport, whether it's business, whatever it is in your life, if you put yourself 100% into it and you achieve what you want, then it is worth it 100 times over. Thank you very much for listening. Good luck to everybody.